Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Street Level Strategies. I am joined today by Laura Kurtz, producing branch manager at Acopia Home Loans. How are you doing today, Laura?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so glad you're here. And I first wanted to start off this episode with a little bit of an intro to yourself. Do you mind just talking a little about who you are?
Sure. Yeah, I'm currently a producing branch manager at Acopia Home Loans. I started my career in the industry back in 1994. So this year was my 30-year anniversary.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
It's crazy. And I spent the first 14 years as a paralegal in the real estate field of law and switched over in the year 2007 to mortgage of all years. Yes.
2007.
And it was a blessing because I didn't have to relearn everything everyone else did. So
totally. Yeah, you knew all the law.
Yeah, it went smoothly for me, thankfully. And I just became very busy very quickly because I already knew all the real estate agents, thankfully. And here we are now. I've been at 3 companies now that all use Total Expert, so I have a lot of experience.
Mm-hmm. I actually didn't know that, Laura, that you've been with 3 companies now that have had Total Expert.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Was that by coincidence, or is that like a driver for you to go to that company?
Both, actually.
Okay.
So it was definitely a consideration for me because I was familiar with it and I appreciate how enterprise of a system it is.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's actually one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to get you on today, Laura, was to talk a little bit about your experience as Total Expert, because something that I do know of you in talking with you is that you actually are a huge advocate for Total Expert amongst your team and the loan officers at Acopia. And so I love to just talk a little bit about what that looks like for you. Like, you even go in and train some of your loan officers and are a huge advocate. So do you want to talk a little bit about just some of the ways of why are you so passionate about the system and why you're out there advocating?
Yes. For me, the most important piece is the fact that it's integrated with our LOS.
Right.
But in addition to that, I can just go into Total Expert and perform most of my functions while interacting with clients, other than the pre-qualifications and the loans itself. So it's one and done. I put in one note and it puts it across the systems. So I don't have to keep a separate spreadsheet. I don't have to keep separate notes. My notebook is now almost useless. And I don't have to use my memory for things. I can look and see what I did with that client the last time I touched them, which might have been a day ago and it might have been 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think is, like, I've been trying to tell all these loan officers of, like, ditch your scratch pad, ditch your sticky notes. Like, how on earth do you feel like you can keep all that in your memory, right? And you can't. And so you're a perfect example of, like, how on earth could you? And now that because the systems speak to one another, you're able to just put it in one spot and then you have that information forever.
Yes. And one other point on that I think is helpful for people to know, many people they learn by doing. So as you type in the notes, incidentally, that also puts it in a better place in your memory where you're more likely to remember about your clients.
Right. Because how many times we have a conversation? Yeah. You have a conversation on the phone and then 10 seconds later, you're like, wait, what did we talk about? Right. So if you're typing and adding notes as you're having those conversations, you're actually practicing, putting that deeper in your memory. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me a little bit. So as you train loan officers, or if you're talking to a loan officer at your company, right, and you're saying, this is why you should use Total Expert, or like, what is the first thing that's like, hey, this is an easy and like valuable tool that you can get value from right off the bat with Total Expert?
The first thing that I tell them is I work on it first thing in the morning and I integrate it right when I make my daily plan, which I don't spend a lot of time planning. I just open my email like everybody does. And I look and see, is there any tasks I need to do just based on the emails I've received from people? And then I go straight into Total Expert and I start looking to see what tasks I have there that I've already either pre-registered for myself previously, or the system automatically generates, and I know exactly who to call and what to do that day and why. I don't have to think it through. So instead of spending an hour or 2 in the morning figuring out what am I going to do, who am I going to call, what am I going to say, I just click and go, and I'm ready to make those calls. I get them over with in very short period of time, and I can get on to my other work.
Yeah, so it's interesting. You're actually leveraging, so the system itself is surfacing up these tasks for you, right? And then you're also managing, you're saying, and you're putting in some tasks yourself to make sure that like every single day when you come in to the system, that is your daily plan. And that's one of the things I've heard, right, is for the people who struggle with what am I doing on a daily, what do I do on a daily basis? Like the system is telling you exactly what to do on a daily basis. And that's kind of where the light bulb goes off of like,
Yes.
this is your task. This is who you should call
Yes.
because you told yourself 2 weeks ago to reach back out to this person at this time, right? So it's that full circle.
Yes, and you don't have to look at lists in your notebook and rewrite your list. It's just right there, and it's succinct, it's specific, and it tells you exactly why you're calling. And our company has gone so far as creating scripts in the emails that are sent as our triggers for the tasks, but they're also listed in the tasks. So you can just look at the screen and know what to say. You literally don't have to stress or think, and it cures call reluctance.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So number one, getting in every single day, you're looking at your task. That's kind of your daily plan for the day. Any other key things that you would say, this is what you got to do in Total Expert?
Yeah. The social media piece is huge.
Okay.
Our marketing team is great about putting assets in, and it's click and go. You don't have to, again, you don't have to hire someone separately to handle your social media. It's all built in, and most posts already come with a caption. So all you have to do is go in and select which one you want and post it. Also the flyers are great. If you're going to go to an open house, the best thing to do is go ahead and do a listing flyer. It's based on the MLS number. It pulls everything in. It might take 5 or 6 minutes to do, and that's the first time you do it. It's very simple, and it pulls in the pictures, the description, and you go to an open house not empty-handed. Not only do you not need to bring a bunch of goodies, but you're bringing a value add to that real estate agent, and you're showing them how your services can really work for them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was actually really funny as I was prepping for this and, just looking up like, what's your title, what all this stuff. I noticed like the first thing that came up was a couple of your social media posts. And I thought to myself, like, I think those look like they're probably from Total Expert, but they were like so pretty. And that was the first thing that came up. So clearly you're using them. And if your marketing team, and that's the cool thing about having the enterprise system, right? Is that the marketing team is constantly uploading these things for you. So on a weekly basis. And do you post on a certain schedule? Is it really organic? What does that look like for you?
I do post on schedule. I go by all the specifications that they recommend, which that's Googleable. You certain times of the day and certain cadence, and certain days are better for certain posts. For example, on a Friday is when you would want to, as a loan officer, put out there that you're available for the weekend, that you can provide listing flyers. So that would be logical on a Friday, and on a Monday, it would be logical to post, hey, does anybody need help with a mortgage if you found a house while you were visiting open houses over the weekend?
Right. Do you do anything, speaking of that, right? A lot of the times I hear loan officers say on the Friday or that Thursday, as they go into the weekend, that's when you're really hitting those agents and you're saying, hey, how can I support you? Do you do anything like that on a Friday? Are you proactively reaching out to agents, or are you just prepping yourself throughout the week with those listing alerts and then doing it on a Friday? What does that look like for you with your agents?
Yes, I do. I always make sure I stay in front of my agent, like any good loan officer does, but Total Expert does it for you to a great extent. It sends automatic emails out to the agents that you have set up, and you can have them set up in specific groups. So you can have your A-list group, or you can have your trying to work with them group, whatever you want to name that. And so you can specifically target them and send emails that are already built in Total Expert with just one click. You just click it and it sends to the whole group, and it is personalized to them, so they feel like you only emailed them, which is what I love about it. And it keeps track of it within the system. So if you pull up that agent again, you know how often you have communicated with them and what you communicated with them.
And how they're engaging, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How do you manage your agents within the in the system? You talked to, I know a lot of people do A-list, B-list, C-list. Like, who am I trying to get? Who are my like top agents I want to continue? Do you manage that in the system easily?
I do. And I name them very basic names. A-list, target list. Maybes. I even call some maybes where, maybe they have a very strong relationship with someone else that we know, but there's nothing wrong with being a second or a third choice when they're not available. So I manage it very well in there. And so you can look at it through groups and make a plan based on what the group is, or you can target market all of them at the same time. Or if there's one in particular that's been particularly engaging, you
Yep.
can engage further with them and take it to the
Yeah.
next level.
And I think that's what's really cool with these emails and things like
Mhm.
that. As you're sending them out and you have those groups segmented in the system, makes it really easy to actually
Yes,
visually see who's engaging, who's not, or if there is someone who is, maybe I target them further and say, hey, how can I support you with
yes.
some resources this weekend? You have an open house. What do you know,
Mhm.
so it really actually makes it easy and efficient for you to be able to target those agents
Yes, and I use the email stats
a lot.
feature quite a bit.
Okay.
So you can go in there and see exactly who has opened the email,
Right.
who has gone, and I forget what it's called. Help me out, Bob Joe.
Right.
But when
Yep.
they click through the
Yep.
click
Click
rate,
through rate.
and you can see
Right.
really with any group that you have who's engaging with what,
Right.
and that way you know, are you effective? If
Right.
something is particularly effective, you might want to expand that to another group or another idea.
Yep. No, that's amazing. So, I mean, recapping, like what I hear you saying is just when you're talking to the loan officers, if I'm a loan officer listening to this, I'm like, what is some of the key value adds I can get from the system right away? It's like,
Yeah.
hey, go and like check your dashboard every morning. It's an every morning type of
Yeah.
thing where your daily plan is set up. You've got
Mhm.
those key tasks, you've got those new people. Who am I engaging with? That's your
Yeah.
call list. That's your daily
Yeah.
plan, right? And then also the email features and a little bit of the co-marketing side of like if you're managing your agents well, the first step could be, and I tell people this all the time, is like setting up those agent groups. Why not? You know
Yes.
who those agents are, and you can
Mhm.
group them starting super easily. I'm sure
Yeah.
it'll take you just a little bit of time to do that, and then being able to target
Mhm.
them with emails and different. You can put together a strategy of how you want to target them, listing flyers, things like that, but supporting the agents
Yes.
because we know, especially right now, how important that is.
Yes, and they appreciate it, and the
Yes,
fact that they can have access to some of the features at
right,
we provide that to them,
right.
that's very valuable to them.
Right, for sure. No, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing this, Laura. I think this would be super valuable for folks who are listening. And so, thanks for popping on. I know it's early for us right now, but
Oh, yeah.
we're off and
Thank you for
away.
having me.
So, yeah, well, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.